All right. So I work for a company, and I used to be an engineer. Now I'm a product manager, and or I was a product manager, and then I started vibe coding. And now my company uses me to stop paying for SaaS tools and contractors to build internal tools, and so I vibe code anything internally. And so I made a promise to my boss, and I was like, I will get this done in 2 weeks, which was a feature to basically do the sizing tool, so like save state in the sizing tool, so like when you refresh, you don't lose everything you were doing. And I was running late, and it was Friday, and I was like, vibe coding is I'm not vibing hard enough today. And so I said, screw it, I'm gonna try to build this loop that just lets me run this over the weekend. And I put it together, and something came out that actually was like 80% functional. And I asked my VP of engineering, like, how much did I spend? He's like, $700. So it was successful. And I will show you all now how that is done. And you too can spend, it's a poor man's loop. So this is before I knew about beads, before I knew about Gastown. Shout out to Steve Higg, it's a great product, try it out. But I was doing everything basically, I didn't know about those things, so I was just doing everything by hand. So how do you start with this?
Can you move over to the left a little bit? Yeah.
All right, so it doesn't matter how you plan, but you have to plan it, right? So I used to be a product manager. As a good product manager, I'm like, all right, everything I do must be, I must write a document, I must write an implementation plan. One key thing in around December, Anthropic dropped this blog post was like, it said how to run a long-running harness. And one key insight they shared in that is that if you use JSON to track your tasks versus Markdown files, the LLMs seem to be a little bit better about not fucking up the file and screwing it up. Plus, bonus, you actually you can script against it, right? It's parsable, so you can actually script against that. So you create a plan file. Eventually, you get down to something that looks like this. Sorry, I have to keep switching between. Eventually, you get something. I don't have my task file here anymore. I guess I should. Did I not create it? Interesting. Well, here, let's ask Claude real quick to create it. Hey, can you read my docs and generate a JSON file with a created field and also our status field, as well as some acceptance criteria for phase 0 of my implementation plan? So it's going to go off and do that. And while it's doing that, I'm going to open a new tab and show you guys some other stuff that's in this directory. And so I also have, you can't see any of the Claude stuff. Let's look at the Claude directory. And so they used to have commands, now they don't have commands, they have something called skills. And so in here I've defined a whole bunch of agents and skills, and I didn't actually write these by hand. So if you're like, how do I actually do these things and what do I put in them? You just ask Claude to do it for you. And so I have a bunch of agents, and really, if you've ever done any vibe coding, you probably realize that it's good to have ways for your agent to actually validate what it's doing and test, right? And so the first thing that usually happens in my workflow is I will go to the planner, and so it'll take the task off that JSON file. It'll go and figure out what to do, right? What tests are we doing? What tests do we need to delete? Which tests do we need to modify? And then it'll spit out a plan of like, how are we going to go implement this and what tests are we going to write? Then the next thing will happen is we'll go to the test writer, and the test writer is going to go write those tests. The test critic is then going to go and analyze those tests, because we've all found that sometimes it writes tests that don't do anything. And then we'll go to the coder, which will actually implement the thing. Finally, the code reviewer to, again, check what the coder did to make sure it did it right. I find that oftentimes, the more times you ask it to check itself, the less likely it is to wreck itself. And then the validator at the end actually looks at the acceptance criteria and validates that everything was done at the end. And then how do you string this all together? Well, of course, if you build a skill, and I just call this TDD workflow, and it basically just tells Claude to go ahead and just run these agents back to back. Like go find take the argument to the slash command, feed that to each agent and just go step by step, right? So now we've built a single agentic loop, right? So if I take that, cool, now we got that. And I will go and show you real quick that you can then run that TDD workflow. And so it's going to go and figure out how to go run that, right? And hopefully you'll go find that file that we just created and start executing the first task. So that's how you get one loop done. Now, how do you get it to run overnight? Well, of course, you write a script. And most of you know you can use Claude as like a CLI command, right? You can just put a prompt in it and it'll just do what you say. So you just write a script. And all it's doing is it's parsing that JSON file that we created, and it is running. Let's go find that real quick. Claude -verbose output stream JSON, print model, whatever model you want, dangerously skip permissions, and it is basically taking that slash command that then tells it how to go find the task, do all the testing, do your code review, validate that everything's correct, whatever you want your workflow, that loop to be. And it goes and does that, and then basically, your few days, whatever long it takes you to build it, day, 2 days, you'll have your thing. So yeah, that's how to do it in a nutshell. 4 minutes.